Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. So, this was actually a while ago, what, 7 or 8 days ago, Doublelift posted this video called Why I Retired, Import Rule, and More, a Doublelift FAQ, kind of like an AMA type thing, I guess, whatever you want to call it, just some commonly asked questions that the community has had for him that he's finally going to be sitting down and answering. And I think this is a really, really cool idea because obviously Doublelift is a super insanely popular player in the League of Legends esports community. So a lot of people who have been asking these questions for a while are really, interested in hearing what the answers are and just, getting to hear more into Doublelift life, his decisions, his thought process, I'm sure from the, the day Worlds ended last year, from the 6th game that TSM lost at Worlds, all the way through the offseason, and how he's doing now, how he's feeling about everything, because obviously his life has changed a ton, and a guy who's always in the spotlight a ton in the League of Legends community, it's been a little bit less so recently, but I kind of wanted to react to this video, pick out some of the more important things he talks about, give my thoughts and opinions about everything, because what Doublelift actually happened, why he retired, actually has a large outcome of what happened with TSM during their offseason, what's happening with TSM now, and how we can look back and see, did TSM make the right decisions? Could they have made better decisions? Could Doublelift have done things differently? And I think it does. Hopefully this video will answer a lot of the questions that we've been wondering about, and also help us get a better sense of why TSM made the decisions they made, how they ended up with the roster they have, and just whether or not they could have done anything better or differently. But before we get into that, I just mention real quick, if you have not already, please take a second, smash the like button. I'd appreciate it a ton. It really helps me out the YouTube algorithm. Also subscribe if you have not already to stay up to date on all my latest content. With that being said, let's hear what Mr. Doublelift Peter Pang has to say. This should be a good one. I know this video's gotten a lot of views, 200K in like 10 days or something. I'm a little bit late. Like I said, I've had this on my list of video ideas to make and talk about. So, I might be a little late to the party, but I still think it should hopefully have some really good stuff for us, because I'm very curious why he retired and what all went on behind the scenes, because I know during the offseason I was making a ton of videos, speculating and talking about all the rumors and everything, but hearing it from his mouth is going to be the best way to go. So let's see what he's got to say. Might skip around the video a little bit here and there, but for the most part, we'll just kind of give him a chance to speak.
Hey guys, what's up, Doublelift here.
Alright, we're going to get hit with the ad real quick. I'm going to mute that. 15 seconds. We got to wait a little bit longer. I probably should have played the video a little bit first, but that is okay. Hey, supporting creators is great. Watch people's ads. Let their ads roll. No big deal. Everybody's got to make their money. Doublelift got to get the paycheck as well. He's retired now. A long time
ago, which is frequently asked questions. Just answering some of
the
most common questions I get on social media and when I'm streaming. So the first one that I get a lot is, what are you doing now that I'm retired? Really simple answer. I'm full-time streaming and I'm absolutely loving it. You can pretty much see me on 5, maybe sometimes 6 days a week, and especially during LCS. I'm co-streaming and people seem to really like it, and I've been really enjoying doing that. So the second question,
just talking about his streaming and stuff real quick, I think it's interesting because I know previously when he had kind of taken a split off, retired, whatever you want to call it, he started out enjoying streaming, but then eventually he got the the competitive itch to kind of come back and play. So a lot of people were speculating of whether or not that was going to happen again. I think it seems much more unlikely it'll happen again this time, but previously he would stream only every once in a while and he'd get 20, 25, 30K viewers. And I don't know what he's typically pulling right now, but I saw him streaming earlier today and he was like an hour or two into his stream and he only had like 8K, 9K viewers. So, that's quite a large amount away from, the 15, 20. I'm sure he still puts up insane numbers when he's LCS co-streaming and everything, but I mean, just for him like playing solo queue and stuff, his numbers weren't great. He was competing with other people at the time, like Tarzan was streaming and Tyler One was streaming and stuff, but yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how much of a viewer base he can keep up, with consistent streaming over time, since, he's not just normally like a content creator, and then also if he's not able to put in consistent, massive viewer amounts, how that'll kind of affect his streaming as we go. I'm sure he'll be able to put up crazy numbers, and obviously he has plenty of money to probably be set for the rest of his life, but just kind of interesting. I'm curious to see how he'll do as a content creator. He's got a big personality, but Twitch and YouTube stuff's hard. It's difficult.
That I get a lot is, why did you retire? That's a really long answer, and I could probably make an entire video just about that, but
that'd be cool if you did make a whole video about that. I'd love to hear all those stories behind the scenes, hearing about him, Bjergsen, talks with TSM, all that stuff. I'm sure it was very interesting stuff, but we'll see the the little tidbits he'll give us here.
Basically sum it up quickly, I just didn't feel like competing anymore. I mean, competing was something that I loved doing for 10 whole years, but I think I reached a point in my career where first it was expected of me to win LCS, and anything below winning LCS would basically be considered a failure, right? It would be considered a step down because I'd been winning so much. And every single year that I came in, I felt really, really good about it. I felt like my this is a team I really believed in. This is an environment I really believed in. But when Soren retired, I really didn't feel that same level of confidence that I normally do, and that was like kind of like strike one. It's like, oh well, it's like my one of my closest friends, one of the best players in the entire league that I basically joined TSM to play with is retiring. That obviously weighed on me a lot, and it made me really conflicted because I know that he would obviously do well as a coach, but to be honest with you guys, being a coach has absolutely less impact than being a player.
Yeah, I mean, I did think this part was really, really interesting because part of it's kind of weird because literally even after Bjergsen retired, like a couple days later, Doublelift either posted a video or had an interview or something where he was like, yeah, it sucks that Bjergsen retired, and I thought about retiring, but I'm coming back for sure. I'm gonna play this year. So then now to hear him say that was kind of the main reason he retired, that's a little bit weird because again, he even after Bjergsen retired, he still kind of announced that he was gonna be playing that season. I think there was obviously a lot more than just Bjergsen's retirement that played into this. I think him and the TSM management and stuff had some arguments behind the scene. I think there was some questions about who his bot lane partner was going to be, and he was trying to make more demands, and TSM maybe wasn't letting him have that much weight in the organization. So hopefully he talks about some of that other stuff, because yeah, I agree that Bjergsen definitely played a part of it. Doublelift clearly has big respect for Bjergsen, and a TSM with and without Bjergsen is definitely two different teams, and being interested in playing in TSM with Bjergsen does not necessarily mean you'd want to be interested in playing on that same team without him.
Soren was like half coaching the team. I mean, this is just what any veteran player is supposed to be able to do, right? They're supposed to be able to coach the team as a player while they're playing and performing at like an extremely high level, and that's exactly what Soren did. And I felt like us doing that together, yeah, it was really important for why we were able to win LCS and why we were so successful together. The second thing is, basically, there's nothing left for me to do in my entire career except for continue to win LCS and rack up like domestic accolades and then try to make it out of groups XD. Like that was like the thorn in my side, like for the longest time, like just to destroy the meme. I know that I made finals on my side, but I never made it out of groups at Worlds, obviously. It's such an unfulfilling goal to have in your career, right? Like this is something the community made up, and so like it's something that I obviously was annoyed at, but at the same time, it's not a really big accomplishment, guys, to make it out of groups at Worlds. The real accomplishment is to make it to the finals, and then if you ask G2 if they're happy with making it to the finals, they'd be like, fuck no, like we came to win it all. And so the real accomplishment is to win Worlds, and like it sounds ridiculous for any player from LCS to say that they want to win Worlds. That's what you...
I mean, I get what he's saying here. Also, I get that it does sound a little bit ridiculous, and I also get why this most recent TSM team, like coming into this year, even if they had Doublelift or whatever, they were not going to be a realistic threat or shot to win Worlds, where in the past, Doublelift has... I potentially think it wouldn't have been that ridiculous to say that their team wanted to win Worlds. I mean, you think back to some of those old Team Liquid teams, like Impact, Smithy, Jensen, Doublelift, Core JJ, like... that team is probably a talented enough team to be getting out of groups at Worlds, to be competing in quarterfinals and maybe making a semifinals. And if you're a top 4 team, I don't think it's that crazy to say that you should be, maybe winning Worlds, or in some certain circumstances, certain metas, if everything goes right. Obviously, that never happened, and a lot of it was them being inconsistent, maybe them choking, bad metas, maybe getting bad groups. There's always a million different excuses. Also, thinking back to 2016 TSM, like, that team, if that team made it to a semifinals or even had a world finals appearance, I don't think that would have been too insanely crazy. Obviously, with the track record that LCS has had at world championships, a large part of that being Doublelift having a lot of inconsistent performances. I know even just with TSM, the Victor game obviously being a big one where he got one shot and kind of took away their chance from being able to get out of groups and stuff. But I get what he's saying, that yes, getting out of groups wouldn't be a huge accomplishment. That would feel, like it's a really low bar to set, and he's been super close, and he's been one game away multiple times. And if he did just make it out of groups and then get 3-0'd or something in the quarterfinals, would he then be like, oh yes, now now my career's complete, I've made it out of groups? Like, no, if you're a competitor and you're in a tournament, you are there to win. You want to try and win. And I don't think it's insane to say an LCS team would try to win Worlds, because obviously we're working towards that goal all the time, and you want your players to be optimistic about that stuff. But this TSM team was not going to be a Worlds competitor this year no matter what. So I do get why he would just kind of hang it up at that point, because the last thing he needs to do is win an international title, and that wasn't really going to happen this year.
That's what you want. That's what you like set for yourself every single year. You want to be the best player in the world. You want to be on the best team in the world. Yeah, I just felt like that was kind of slipping away. After season 10 Worlds, I talked to Core. We both didn't make it out of groups, and I was talking to him like, what do you think is like wrong? What do you think is missing? And he said something that I totally agree with, which is every year the gap just gets bigger. There's like a meme way back in the day, which is like the gap is closing. Yeah, like how are we gonna close the gap, right? But it does seem, I totally agree with Core, and that it seems like it's further and further away. It's less and less attainable every year. That's what I really wanted from myself, is to just win Worlds once. And I know that that's like a huge, tall order, but that obviously had a huge impact on why I decided to retire, because Soren retiring, talking to Core, and realizing that my dream is getting further and further away, having the feeling of like, am I gonna like double down and practice even harder than I normally do, which it was extremely, extremely hard.
Yeah, and them talking about the gap like getting further and further apart, I think some of that has had to do with franchising, where previously there was fewer top teams, and there was fewer teams, kind of getting all the talent together. And more recently, the talent has been kind of spread out the LCS a little bit, especially once, TSM split up originally and they started throwing their players all over the place. Once they got rid of Doublelift, once they got rid of Svenskeren, once they got rid of Haunter, and they all kind of split up, it made the LCS more balanced, which makes for a more competitive and interesting league, but really hurts us at the international stage. I mean, when you look at a team like G2, there's an argument to be made that they have the single best player in every single position in the LEC. And it's been a while since we've really had that in the LCS. Yes, for splits here and there, Liquid has maybe looked like they've had the best player at every position, but Bjergsen was never on their team. I would never say they had the best mid laner ever. And last year, people wanted to say that Cloud9 had the best player at every single position during the spring. But just because they were all playing the best at the time doesn't mean they actually had the best player at every position. They were maybe the best team, but NA hasn't had as many super teams recently of like the best players at every position getting together and trying to win Worlds. That has never really happened, like with G2, like with, Caps leaving Fnatic and coming over, Reckless leaving Fnatic and coming over. That did happen a little bit when, obviously, Doublelift came over to TSM. That was kind of, in my mind, the last, like, real super team we had in the LCS. And that team could have done things internationally. They were very, very good. They played in a group with, they were in the group of death and should have made it out. So yes, the gap is closing, but it's partly because I think the talent is just a little bit too spread out in the LCS.
Or do I want to move on to the next chapter of my life and see if I can be successful in that? And I decided that streaming is something that I never really truly gave it my all in, and I really wanted to see how far I can take it, because I've been streaming on and off for 10 years. And I've always gotten good viewership, and people always seem to like it, but I just never really took it and like ran with it. So, lastly, playing on stage was a really big factor for me as far as like fulfillment in competing. I almost forgot this. This is absolutely huge. There's a clip of Reckless saying that if LEC was no audience for another year, he would have retired. I know that this probably doesn't really resonate with like a lot of people out there, but I think for me, playing in front of a crowd, and especially in high pressure situations and big moments, hearing like the crowd just screaming and getting that fucking insane adrenaline rush was such a big part of being a pro player, and it was so fulfilling. And then thinking back on the last win that we had on TSM, one of the craziest runs in LCS history, I think. The first time that there ever is a losers bracket, we come out of the losers bracket, do crazy things, reverse sweep, like come back from Infernal Soul, beat every single underdog team, beating like C9, FlyQuest, TL right after we like, it's just absolutely insane, right? Like if that happened, in my mind, if that happened with a crowd, it would have been completely unforgettable. But to me, now that I've went through that, it's actually just a blip in my career memory.
And I agree. Like he's saying that this is a absolutely huge point. Now, I don't know if a lot of you guys or any of you guys have ever been to a live League of Legends event. I have been to, I don't know if it's 2017 or 2018 spring finals of the LCS. Insane experience being there in the arena. Like I love watching LCS. I love watching LEC. I love watching competitive League of Legends. Obviously, I've watched pretty much every single weekend for the last, like, I don't know, 7 years of my life. I've watched a ton of competitive League of Legends, but it is nothing like being there in the arena, seeing in person, a sold out arena, watching League of Legends, especially a finals like that, is absolutely insane. Getting to see a game 5, getting to see a Silver Scrapes. I mean, it was all unforgettable, and I can't even imagine being one of the players, especially a guy like Doublelift, who loves attention, who loves feeding off that energy and stuff. And then you take something like that, where he's had that so many times in his career, and maybe, you definitely get a little bit used to it, but still, it's got to be so badass every time, so sick. And then going to winning a championship in your team facility with your 5 friends, and yeah, you get to celebrate, but no fans, no craziness, no cheering, no screaming, no big celebration. I totally understand what he's saying, why that would take away some of it, and I completely agree. I love that energy, that atmosphere. I think it all adds to it, and I cannot wait for LCS, LEC, all League of Legends to be back in person, to have fans in front of them, because I think it even affects the viewing experience from home. I mean, we've seen LCS viewership is dropping, last year, it's dropping this year, and I think part of it is, yeah, it does affect it. You want to hear that energy. You want to hear the crowd, the TSM chants, the people rooting, the people booing, the people cheering. It makes it so much cooler. It makes it so much more exciting. These games are obviously meant to be enjoyed in person, in front of crowds, with announcers, with all that stuff going on. They're meant to be events. And when they're not events, yes, they definitely become less memorable and less desirable for the fans and the players. So that instance, I do not blame him at all,
because it's just not nearly as cool to be playing online as it is to be playing live. That's basically it. Those are probably the 3 main reasons. I spent a lot of time on that question, but the next question that I get a lot of the time is related to that, which is, do I regret retiring? The answer is absolutely not. I was super afraid that I would regret it when I first made the decision, and now that I've been streaming consistently and started to get my feet on the ground with it, I absolutely do not regret it a single bit. I think it's super awesome what I'm doing now, and I'm really happy, and I think it shows when I'm streaming that I'm actually in a way better mood than I normally am. And
so one, I just want to stop real quick to say that's great to hear. Obviously you want people to be doing something they love, you want people to be happy, you want what's best for everyone, and if he is truly happy doing this and feels good and feels great and thinks it's sustainable for the long term, awesome. For another reason, he was not going to be a competitive League of Legends player forever. At some point, he was going to have to make the switch, and yes, it was going to suck for the fans, it was going to suck for TSM, it was going to suck for the LCS, losing a guy like this. This was going to happen at some point, so, what better time than now, I guess, in a lot of ways. But also, him saying he doesn't regret it, I would say he doesn't regret it yet. I would say there's going to be a couple big milestones for him. Like, one, let's see how he feels after the spring playoffs, once you get to see all that stuff happening. Let's see after a Worlds passes and, he's not there competing. And then, how he just talked about fans not being there. Fans are going to return to the LCS at some point. Once LCS is back to normal, then we'll kind of see if he doesn't regret it, if he doesn't get that itch again, if he doesn't feel like playing again. Because, again, we've seen him go to streaming before, and he came back because he couldn't stand it. He wanted to be back with his team. I do believe that, yes, he's gotten older. Things in life have changed. Everyone matures, everyone grows up, and things in life, you just have to move on at some point. So I get this is totally different than last time, but I would still say it's great that he's feeling this way now, but will it last? Who knows? I mean, he doesn't even know. We'll see.
I have a lot of energy, and I'm super just happy with my life, and I'm happy with the way that my stream has been growing. For me, I feel like what I perceive as the soul of LCS is a little bit gone. Playing in it, I just feel like I wouldn't have nearly as much fun as I did in the past. It's that chapter of LCS being what it was to me in my mind and having that essence. Yeah, it's been a little bit diminished. I can't tell what percentage of that is the fact that it's played online. It's just these kind of pseudo random online matches, or for other factors. But don't regret it whatsoever. Next question I get all the time: am I ever coming back?
This is a good one.
99.99% no. Basically, the answer is no. I guess you
say
can never
0.
count it out, right? It's you can never say never to anything. But really, the answer is no. Barring something absolutely crazy happening, I don't think I'm ever coming back. And then so when I'm doing the co-streams,
It's funny because a large part of that question is, yeah, would he want to come back? Would he actually come back? Would he actually do it? Would he want to put the time, energy, and effort into it? But then another part is, would a team want him? There was questions this offseason about how much interest there would have actually been in Doublelift if he did, announce free agency or something like that, because young teams, inexperienced teams were trying to go cheap, young, and inexperienced, and established teams maybe didn't want the 2020 version of Doublelift, who honestly was not that good. So, where would his skill level be? Where would teams be at? Would they want him? There's a lot going on there. It's not just as easy as, Doublelift wants to come back. Somebody's got to want him as well.
I get a lot of questions about like, well, you have all this insight about what a team should be doing, and obviously like people know that I was the primary shot caller on a lot of the teams that I played on. So why don't you do coaching? First off, coaches make a ridiculously small fraction of what you could be making, not only as a player, but as a streamer.
This is something I've been really, really curious about, because obviously Bjergsen is a guy who could make an insane amount of money streaming. I mean, he probably would be able to pull in a bigger stream in YouTube and stuff than Doublelift if he went like full time. People love watching that guy play. I mean, they love Doublelift too. So at the end of the day, it's very, very comparable. But obviously, he made a ton as a player. I've been curious as to what his salary as a coach is. Obviously, it doesn't matter. He has partial ownership in TSM. He has a ton of insane sponsors. He has crazy big massive social medias and stuff, so it doesn't really matter, but I am generally curious what TSM is paying him as a coach. I've definitely thought about that.
It's not even close, right? We're talking like completely different ballparks for income. And second, not only is it impractical, right? Because let's just screw the money. Like let's just say I don't really need any more money. The point is that I don't really want to. Coaching is something that if I was to do it, I would be so competitive at it. I would want to spend literally every hour of my day either helping my players improve or studying the game. And I wouldn't really want to do anything else, because it would piss me off if I felt like somebody on another team, a coach, was outperforming me or working harder than me. I just wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah, I would be back to being that ultra competitive person, and I don't think really anything would change about my life between being a coach and a player, because I would just spend all my time either playing or studying League. Except I would be making like way less money, and I would have way less impact than just if I was literally in the game making the calls. I would be having to teach my players, etc., etc. So it's just something that I'm not interested in doing whatsoever. I briefly thought about it, but then I realized that like I just don't have the patience to be a coach. I would way rather be actually doing the things than sort of facilitating my team to be able to do those things. And I know that it just takes a certain type of personality, and I don't know if I would be like a good fit for it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. I mean, I think that's what a lot of people have said as well. Like, Doublelift is undoubtedly a great shot caller. I mean, looking at TSM teams previously to Doublelift coming in, and then looking at, TSM from 2015 to 2016, they looked night and day like a completely different team. Obviously, they got way more talented with Doublelift coming in, but they were setting up plays that they'd never even previously thought of setting up, and I mean, their team just looked so much better. He is a brilliant, brilliant League of Legends mind, whatever your opinions or thoughts as him as a player or personality or anything is. But yes, I think a lot of people do agree that while he was probably a pretty good leader as a player, he obviously had, some brush-ups with different players and organizations and stuff in terms of him maybe not being the best communicator or being a little bit, to this or to that or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know if his personality necessarily lends itself towards coaching a bunch, but again, yes, coaching needs to come a long way in League of Legends. I mean, the salaries need to get up. If players are going to be paid this much, coaches need to be getting good amounts of money as well if you want to attract top talent. That is a big problem in North America, is that a lot of our top minds are not coaches. They are not analysts. They do not help teams get better. They do not help players get better. And that's probably part of why our, development and everything just sucks. But I do think it was some really, really cool insight to hear about all this stuff from Doublelift. And just to hear and think back, I do think some things were left out because, again, I think there was a lot more to the offseason than just Bjergsen retiring. But I think it was really cool to hear from Doublelift, hear kind of his thoughts and opinions, and hear the fact that he's loving life. Things are going well. He's not thinking about returning, and just why he made some of the decisions he made. I think it is really, really cool whenever pro players are transparent, and we can kind of, push back the curtains and see what's going on in the world of a professional League of Legends player. Because obviously, we're fans of these players, of these teams, of these organizations, and of this life. So it's cool to get to see some things that we would generally not get to see or hear about. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about Doublelift in general? Do you think he made a good decision retiring when he did? Do you wish he would have hung on and played for one more year? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on anything we talked about in today's video. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully I catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.